today is the last day to sign up for the spring retreat. If it's something you've been on the fence about or something that you're thinking about or praying through, you don't have to any longer. I've already made the decision for you. You can go. So that's $50. If that's going to be an issue, please don't hesitate to go anyway. Talk to me. There will be scholarships available for that. Several of you guys have already registered this weekend today. So, hey, pulling it up right to the wire. I like it. If you have any questions about that, just ask me. We're going to Thompson Station, Tennessee. That is March 16th through the 18th again, just for reference there. Make sure you register today. If you want to register, you know for a fact that you want to go and you just can't today, talk to me. It's okay. But we need to give them numbers tomorrow. That's why today is the deadline for that. One more thing happening in March that you need to know about is March the 11th. We are doing an apologetics and theology training class. So Sunday evenings at 4:30 p.m., we will be meeting here at the South Campus to work on apologetics, to talk about theology, and those kinds of things, really to equip you with the idea of defending the Christian faith, okay, the truth claims of Christianity. So that is happening on Sunday evenings. A lot of you have already registered for that, so please continue to do that. That's only so we know how many resources to print off for you. It's completely free. We just need your coming for that. Any questions about Equip? Fantastic. March the 4th, there's not a slide for this, but March the 4th, our church is doing March Madness, which is a canned food drive for our community. It's down at the South Campus. So that's not this coming Sunday, but the next. Okay, so what we do is our life group on Sunday mornings at 9:30. We normally just take that hour and go serve down there. So we take, as everybody unloads goods from their cars, we take those, bring those in, we sort them out, and store them at our South Campus. It's half a mile down the road here. So yeah, that's happening March the 4th. So if you show up to life group and nobody's there, head down to the South Campus because that's where we'll be. So we'll be doing that from 9 to 12. Feel free to leave and go to 11:11 worship if you need to. But that's the time that we're going to be. Because we have two services, there'll be people leaving the first service to drop stuff out. So we'll need to be down there at that. So that's 2 Sundays from now, just so you know. And anything else that you guys have before we continue? Yeah. So one thing today that obviously some of you may know, some of you may not. Billy Graham passed away today. For those of you who don't know who Billy Graham is, incredible man of God, preached the gospel continually with his life, is known for the crusades that he's been a part of and led for many, many, many years. He was 99 years old. So from 1918 to 2018 he lived. But I wanted to read this quote from him. It's something that I shared today on my social media if you saw it. But really, I want you to think about this too, that if what does be said of you? When you think of the kind of, your life or what that would look like for you to pass away, really something about his life is that you can't hear his life or see his life without also seeing the gospel. And so this is a quote from him. He said this. He said, "Someday you will read or hear that Billy Graham is dead." So this is coming from his own mouth. "Don't you believe a word of it. I shall be more alive than I am now. I will just have changed my address. I will have gone into the presence of God." Billy Graham. I'm sure he didn't know the day or the time when that would happen, but that moment that he's talking about is today for him. And so we want to honor him. We want to pray for him and his family, but it really is a celebration. When you have given your life to Christ, when your eternal security is secure, it is a rejoicing. It's still sad because he's a great man of God, but we do want to honor him with that. And so just wanted to let you know about that as we lift him. And then also, too, we're a ministry that really does try to minister to people well. Oftentimes, as college students, we often think that, hey, we need to be ministered to. And that's often true. But sometimes we get the opportunity to actually minister to those who serve us. Maybe we don't like our professors a lot of times. But sometimes our professors go through life as well. And they go through great difficulty. And so Jim's going to come up here and share. If you walked in, you should have gotten a little card that looks like this. And I'll let him explain.
There's nothing worth more, or ever come close. Nothing can compare. You're
as Tyler mentioned earlier, Billy Graham passed away today, and he actually said the quote that I was planning on using for this moment, so that's a thing. I want to kind of hit it again because he said, when you hear that I'm dead, know that that's a lie, because I'm going to be more alive than I've ever been. And I mean, just to have that confidence, you know? Like, I'm sure I'm not the only person who has ever thought, okay, what if this entire thing is just like not a thing? And just the fact that he lived, he completely based his life in the confidence that it's real. And it is real. And I've experienced it, and I have no doubt in my mind. This next song is kind of older. It is one of the most powerful songs I've ever heard in my life. I love it. And I just want you guys to just kind of listen to the words. I feel like all too often we sing songs that we know so well that we just don't even pay attention, or we don't know the song, so we just kind of sit there awkwardly until it's over. But if you don't know the song, that's okay. I give you the freedom to sit and watch the screen and ponder. I give you the freedom to worship with your hands open and just listen. If you know the song, I give you permission to scream at the top of your lungs, because I'm going to feel like I'm doing that at some points during this. But I want you to think about it. I want you to dwell on the words that you're saying. I don't want you to say them mindlessly. This is before the throne.
Before the throne of God above, I have a strong and perfect plea. The great high priest whose name is love, whoever lives and pleads for me. My name is graven on his hands. My
thank you that we can walk in the confidence knowing that you have claimed us. Knowing that it doesn't matter what we do, it doesn't matter how messed up our world is around us, it doesn't matter. Because you are greater, you are bigger, you are stronger, and you are worthy, Father. Thank you for all that you are and all that you're doing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks, guys. Awesome. Totally awesome. 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 How's everybody doing? You good? You good? Babs, I didn't see you sneak in. Good to see you. She's a sneaky little thing. Adorable, but sneaky. That's all get out. All right, gang. Got some questions for you. This is kind of like, we had College Bible Challenge a few weeks ago. This is like a little bit sort of the second part of it. A couple questions I got just at the beginning here. So I want you to fill in the blanks here. Blank goes before a fall. Pride. Haughty spirit. The Lord opposes the... Proud. Very good. The Lord tears down the blank man's house. No. Proud. The Lord tests the blank of heart. Proud. Good. This is good. Are you seeing a theme here? How does God feel about pride? He detests a haughty spirit, a proud heart. Pride goes before the fall. Over and over again, we see where God doesn't like pride. What was the reason that Satan fell? Pride. Right? He was the most beautiful among the angels and started saying, hey, you know what? I can do this gig better than the big guy does. Pride. What caused the fall in the Garden of Eden? Now you're saying pride because every answer is pride so far. But was it? Exactly. It was, did God really say this? Oh, no. He knows that if you eat, you will be just like him. Pride. They wanted to be just like God. So let me ask you. How would you characterize a proud person? Give me a good example of somebody that you would point to, not in the room, don't point, that's rude, and say that is a picture, an image of what a proud person would do. Trevor.
Joseph Stalin.
Who?
Joseph Stalin.
Oh, Stalin.
Yeah.
Joseph Stallworth. Joseph Stalin. Why would you say Joe Stalin?
I mean, that dude was so, he had a city named after him. Stalingrad. I mean, the dude thought so highly of himself that anybody who thought differently than he did was killed. I mean, they had applause that lasted for hours on end, even when he wasn't even in the room. And if you sat down first, then you were a traitor.
There you go. That's a pretty good picture. Somebody else. It doesn't be an actual person. It can be a characteristic. Somebody you would point to and say, that is a proud person. What you got?
Person who, when they come into a disagreement, when they realize their argument's starting to lose weight, shuts it down quickly before they allow it to continue and be moving on.
That's my go-to move. Okay, so a person that when they realize they're starting to lose, they're wrong, they shut it down immediately so nobody will recognize it. Yeah, Blaine, what you got?
Someone who boasts about all their accomplishments and how great they are.
Yeah. Now, is it easy for a person to be proud? Can it creep up on somebody?
Yes.
I thank God I have never been that way. I have always been one of the humblest people I know. And, it's very exciting for me to be that way, right? It's kind of easy. We all have it in us. I mean, it's Satan's favorite sin, obviously, because it's the one he fell from. So he wants everybody else to fall from the same thing. Makes sense. I think that's one of the reasons that God speaks against it so much. But we're going to be looking at a passage tonight. It's one of the earliest stories I remember ever hearing. And I took it pretty much, one thing, it was told to me wrong. I know that now. But the other thing is I took it very literally. We're going to be looking at the Tower of Babel tonight. And as I first heard it, it's one of the first stories I ever remember hearing, like in kindergarten and in Sunday school, right? And they were talking about building a tower to the heaven. And in my mind, I had a Jack and the Beanstalk kind of image in my mind of this tower that was kind of curving as it went up, and it went up in the clouds and kept on going, and it was that kind of a tower. So I was very literal with this tower. We're going to look at it. So Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. Would somebody please read for us verses 1 through 9 of chapter 11?
Got it.
Go for it. As long as you're reading the same version, it'll work out beautifully. No, go ahead, Ben. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Jim, I thought it was Ben. I apologize.
I'll take the first one. 1 through 9. Correct?
Please.
Okay. The whole earth had the same language and vocabulary. As people migrated from the east, they found a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let us make oven-fired bricks." They used brick for stone and asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the sky. Let us make a name for ourselves, otherwise we will be scattered throughout the earth." Then the Lord came down to look over the city and the tower that the humans were building. The Lord said, "If they have begun to do this as one people, all having the same language, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down there and confuse their language so that they will not understand one another's speech." So from there, the Lord scattered them throughout the earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore it is called Babylon, for there the Lord confused the language of the whole earth, and from there the Lord scattered them throughout the earth.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. This was about 100 years after the flood. Okay, so this is the time frame we're looking at. And by the way, realize whenever you read Genesis, Genesis is not written from a chronological perspective. It is a contextual perspective. So if you look at chapter 10 talks about, and the people were scattered all over the place, and they were all speaking different languages. Okay, and then you get to chapter 11, and that hasn't happened yet. Well, 10 actually follows behind 11, but okay. So I don't want anybody to be confused later on when you look at it. Okay, so verse 1, it says, "Now the whole earth had one language and the same words." I'm reading from the ESV. And I look at that and I say, okay, what does that mean? Well, it means kind of like, okay, have you ever heard of the term pop? Pop.
Like soda.
Like soda. Oh yeah, you got soda pop, right? You got soda pop. You got your Coke, right? You got all these different. You got fizzy drink. That's another, Mr. Fizzy. Oh yeah, fizzy drink. That's called fizzy drink in some places. People have all different names for the same thing. I remember when I was a kid and you're in the South and you said you wanted a Coke. What kind of Coke do you want? Do you want a Pepsi Coke or do you want a Dr. Pepper Coke? Okay, it was just, well, then you had to say you don't want Coke. Okay, and then they knew what you wanted. Here, they're saying people were so much in unison together that they all used the same term for even things like that. It was pop. Everybody called it pop, and they knew it was just soda pop because that's the right term for it. If you're from the north, especially, don't you know? Yeah. See. All right. So that's how much they were all in unison together. And as people migrated from the east, now by the way, when you come in the Bible, and for the most part, when people are migrating and they're going east, it's a bad thing. Yeah, traveling east. Because in the song Michael W. Smith did years ago was not "Go East, Young Man." It was "Go West, Young Man." Okay? You don't go east. So when they were going east, that means bad things are happening. And they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. This is not Shinara. It's Shinar. Okay? Sorry, I say Shinar and I automatically think, call me Alabama. No. Okay, this is a land, that is the land that is now called Iraq. And that's where they settled. All right? And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Okay, what does that mean? Well, that area does not have a lot of stone. And if you're wanting to build buildings that are going to stand, you need to use something good. So what they usually do is they would take the clay and the dirt and they'd mix it up and they'd add straw and they'd make bricks. And then they would just stack the bricks. But here, for this, whatever they're building, it was so important. Another thing they have there in that area is tar pits. The tar just bubbles up out of the ground. And so they said, hey, let's use the tar like a glue. And so they put that as like a mortar. And so they put the bricks, and so they were building a very sturdy structure. This is ingenious, people. I mean, think about it. This is 100 years after the flood, and now they're starting to do this together. Now, does any of this so far in these first 3 verses sound all that bad?
Yeah.
Okay, glad you said that. I was going to have a hard time justifying if you said yes. Not so far. It's just kind of, okay, this is what they're doing. The whole earth had one language and the same words, the whole known earth. And as people migrated from east, they found a plain, the land of Shinar, settled there, said to one another, come, let's make bricks, burn them thoroughly. They used tar. Then they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. All right, now we're finding the problem. Now all of a sudden we have an inkling of what the issue is here. Someone, if you would, read for me God's instructions to Noah and all of his peeps back in chapter 9, verse 1.
Verse 1.
Verse 1.
Oh, then God blessed Noah and his sons and told them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth.
Be fruitful and multiply. That's great. And do what?
Fill the earth.
Fill the earth. What does that mean?
Don't stay away.
Scatter. Spread. Okay? Now, as you come across this, everything sounds all good. They're doing ingenious things, and they come to verse 4. And they said to themselves, come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens. And let us make a name for ourselves. What does it mean to make a name for yourself?
Famous.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's a little more than that. It's not just to be famous. Your name at this time in the Old Testament, anytime you come across it, was associated with your character. Okay? That's why we talk about the name of Jesus. It is so powerful because it's the character. It's a reflection of who he is. The names of God, all the different names, Yahweh, Jehovah, Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha, all these different names. Names meant something. It was your character. And they're saying, let's make a name for ourselves. It's not exactly just that they wanted to be famous. It was more along the ideas, we are going to be powerful. How many of you guys have seen Black Panther? Okay, the whole guy taking the throne, all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, that's what we're talking about. I'm going to get all the people behind me, and I'm going to challenge the throne. By the way, we went and saw it last night. I'm going to share with you, and later on I'll explain why I'm sharing this with you. We came out of the movie, and I'm staying there, and my favorite, I'm talking to Val, waiting for the other folks we were with to come out of the movie, and my favorite superheroes as a kid were Black Panther, Green Lantern, and Green Arrow. And so I said to Val, I guess I just loved all the color superheroes. And I meant all the ones that had colors in their name. But there was an African-American gentleman walking by at the time who gave me a weird look and going, I love all of them colored heroes. Because that didn't sound good at all. Okay. All right. But, God even uses a fool to confound the wise. And, Okay. So here we go. We've got, let us make a name for ourselves. We're going to be powerful. We're going to challenge who? Now, who would they have to challenge at all? God. And that's the reason they say, let's challenge him. Let's take the throne. Let's take the title, Jack, lest we be scattered. So we're going to challenge God who's told us to scatter, and they don't want to scatter. They want to stay together. There's great harmony. Everybody's in unison together, in union, and just unified. What are they trying to avoid? Yeah, that's the one thing they want to happen the least. Keep that in mind. Yeah, that's the one thing they want to avoid. And they wanted to accomplish what they wanted to do. That's pretty much it. This was in direct opposition to God's instruction. So then it says, and the Lord came down to see the city, and the tower, which the children of man had built. You know, a couple things I'll tell you about this. I was doing some background reading this week on this passage, and I came across an ancient Babylonian account of the building of the city of Babylon. And it was very, very interesting. They described it, and it was literally, they said that, I think I wrote down the exact quote, because it was so interesting. Yep, they said, they referred to the construction in heaven by the gods as a celestial city as an expression of pride. That's how the Babylonians described the building of the city of Babylon. And they also went, in this text, it went forth to say that every brick that was made was inscribed with the name of the patron god of Babylon, Marduk. And they wrote Marduk's name on every brick that they used as they built it. And as they talk about the great tower that was built and this great thing that was done, they talk about the king of the city. This just floored me. The king of the city, they called the Day Star. The Day Star. That was the name for the king of the city. No, not the Death Star, the Day Star. And that translates directly into their language as Lucifer. Intriguing, right? So this is all coming from a Babylonian text. Babel sounds similar in Hebrew to the word for confusion. But in the Mesopotamian language, in ancient Mesopotamia, it meant gateway to God, or the gateway of God. So, is there any question now? We have it from the Bible, of course. But is there any question, even looking at the text of the Babylonians and their own accounts, what was behind the building of the city?
Pretty much invade heaven.
To defy God, to invade heaven, to build something bigger than anybody had ever built before. You know, the biggest battleship, we're going to build a ship that's unsinkable. We're going to build, whatever it is. They're building the biggest, the baddest, the best. Okay? This was in direct defiance of God, and in their own text they say because of their pride. It was an expression of their pride. And then verse 5 comes to one of my favorite sayings ever in my entire life. It's two simple words that E.V. Hill used to say so beautifully. E.V. Hill was a slightly overweight African-American pastor in Los Angeles. Saw him speak. He'd always wear a three-piece suit, and he'd always sweat profusely. And he'd just be saying, I love the man dearly. Oh, I could sit and listen to him for hours and hours. But he would often say this. He would be talking about something, and he'd be speaking in a very low tone, saying, this would go on, this was happening. And they said, we shall build, let's make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. But God! And that's perfect here. Because, but God came down and saw what was happening. And the Lord said, behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is the only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Now, you read that, and it sounds like God is wanting to keep them down. God is going, oh, man, they're going to accomplish these great things. I can't have that. No, that's not what it is. God is looking at me saying, they are rebelling directly in my face. They are going against me directly. I cannot allow that to happen. Because why?
He just wiped out the earth. If they get exactly how they were before, this is the entire purpose of it.
That might be part of it, but why? Why would God look at him and say, I got to stop them going the direction they're going?
Well,
He
loves them?
Because he loves them. It's leading to their own destruction. Because they would then turn away from God. Do you know what happens to nations that want to live like there is no God?
So be Korea.
I'm not naming a specific. I'm saying, do you know what happens to nations that want to live like there is no God? God lets them get a taste of what that's like. that's not good. It's horrible. I would say right now, all the things that are going on in our nation, we're getting a taste of that. God is letting us see what it's like to live as a nation without God, because that's what we've wanted for so long, so many people. It's not good. And God loves the people, and he's saying, I can't let them continue on this path because it's going to destroy them. And so he said, I'm going to have to break them up. I'm going to have to intervene, because otherwise they'll be able to do anything and they won't ever have to call on me for anything. God has got a relationship. He sent Jesus to just cement that relationship with us. It's all about relationships. And they would not need him anymore, or so they would think. But it would lead to their own destruction. So he said, come, let us go down there. I love that. Let us. Because how many of them is there? Yeah, 3 and 1. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language so that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of the earth. And they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth. I told you that when I first heard this story, I heard it wrong. I heard that God then destroyed the tower and fell down on everybody and it crushed them, and they said, oh, we can never do that again because we've been crushed by this. Does it say that happened? No, you know what happened? Yeah. People just gave up on doing it. Because they couldn't work together anymore like that. Because they didn't have the unified opposition to God. And now they separate out. And also, very interestingly, God confused their language. Do you know, I was just reading this also this week, linguists, as they were discussing all the different languages that are in the world, they break them into 4 different categories. And one category of language is called the Shemitic. And another one is called it starts with Ham something. Okay? Because what are the 3 sons of Noah? Jacob, isn't it? And that's the 3rd one. That's the 3rd. And so these languages, even today, when they're describing them, saying the Germanic ones, those are the Japhetic. The other ones that have come from, I think it's the Middle East, are the Ham ones. And so I think, isn't that amazing that even linguists today still describe or break the languages down into those kind of terms based on Noah. But God just dispersed the people, broke it up, changed the languages, didn't destroy it. Why didn't he just destroy it?
Try again.
Yeah. Instead, he affected their intent. He affected their desires. Affected what they decided to do with themselves. What was the one thing they wanted to avoid the most? What happened in the end? I think that's so interesting. Especially because they were doing it because it was in direct opposition to him. Why in the world did he tell everybody in the first place to scatter? See, I have no clue. But it was instruction from God. You don't have to understand why he tells you to do something. You don't have to just know all the details of what's going to happen from it. Like he said to Abraham, Abraham, walk in that direction. Okay. He didn't say, I want you to walk there. And Abraham said, okay, where am I going to stop? Because I'm going to get thirsty around. I get really peckish about 12:30. I'm going to need to stop and eat something, you know. Oh, yeah, no problem. It's going to be a wayside station. No. Go that direction. It's not ours to question why, to understand all the reasons. Oftentimes they become obvious later on or while you're on the travel. It's ours to obey. And so God accomplished what he said he wanted in the first place, which was for them to go be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. I love this story. I just do. Because it's even this story is a story of redemption.
God didn't just destroy them, but he drew them one step closer to himself. That's the entire story of all the Bible. I've been saying this in all the Bible studies I'm in lately because it just strikes me as so amazing. God, throughout history, has revealed himself more and more and more increasingly to his people as he draws us to the end days when we're going to have the new Jerusalem, the new earth, and we're going to reign with him. And we're going to actually be able to be in his presence again, like Adam and Eve were before the fall. And so he just reveals himself a little bit at a time. He reveals his will. And they have one rule here. What was it? After the flood? Be fruitful, multiply. Fill the earth. Okay, 2 rules. 3 if you said, fruitful and multiply. And they blew it. Adam and Eve had one rule. They blew it. The rabbis came up with 613 rules. Nobody can keep 613 rules. But why did they come up with 613 rules? I think it's God, because God then makes people realize, I can't keep 613 rules. And if you can't keep all 613, guess what you cannot attain? Exactly, heaven. So therefore, how do I get to heaven? One way, Jesus Christ, which God, again, provided. I love that. So, what are the things that you most want to avoid? You personally, think to yourself. What are the things you most want to avoid? Things that you might even defy God to avoid having to deal with. A guy I used to be in a Bible study with. It was the weirdest thing. This was back before anybody knew anything much about this country, but he said that he'd always had this dreadful fear that God would send him to Afghanistan as a missionary. So he wouldn't give his life over to God because he was afraid God was going to send him to Afghanistan as a missionary. I remember driving into work one day and I was listening to preaching on the radio, and I was praying in between, and I remember just saying to God, I submit to you everything I've got. My kids, because I knew he was, I wanted him watching over them because I wasn't around all the time, and my spouse, my home, and my job, and it came down to it, and I realized he kind of said to me, well, what about your finances? And I said, no, those are mine. Because I was afraid if I submitted my finances to God, he might make me poor. And if I didn't submit my finances to him, that couldn't happen, right? Yeah, okay. We all have things that we are afraid of, that we want to not have happen. But what kind of things do you have in your life? Do you have anything in your life that you don't want it so badly, you would defy God? Or that you value so much you don't want to give it up, even if that means defying God. I've told the story before. A guy I used to work with. We were on a trip together, driving in the car for about 6 hours. And I love this guy. He was great, my best friend at work. And he wasn't a Christian, but he was just a wonderful guy. And he was just newlywed. And so I witnessed to him about Christ, and we were talking, and it was going beautifully. It was kind of like, his foot was dangling over the threshold of accepting Jesus Christ, and he just broke down. He was crying. And it was just a wall there. He would not get in. And I was, what's keeping you? What's holding you back? And he says, I just love my wife so much. To which my response was, great. He said, but I'm afraid if I accept Jesus, my love for him might diminish my love for my wife. And I couldn't have that. So we may be thinking something big. You may be thinking of something huge that's keeping you back. It may not be something big. It may just be something that you know is wrong in your heart, even though sometimes you don't want to admit it to yourself. But you still do it anyway. or that you need to do and you know not doing it is wrong, but you won't do that. It might be something small. It might be, I don't know, anything you feel you have to keep hidden. Because if people found out about it, they wouldn't trust you, they wouldn't believe in you, they wouldn't give you a position, whatever it might be. I don't know. What is that thing? And here's the thing that really is bothersome to me, because I've got all kinds of stuff like that in my own life. Areas where it's like, I know I'm not supposed to go up a fourth time to the Chinese buffet because gluttony is a sin. But I haven't gotten any of those little dumplings yet. I love those dumplings. I save them for last. Even when I'm so full I can't taste food anymore or stand up straight. Gotta get some of those dumplings, right? When you defy God and you go your own route and you do that little thing, whatever it is, that is pride. Because what you're saying is, God, I know what you've said, but I'm elevating my judgment to your level or even above it. I'm going to go with what I want instead. I usually don't think of pride that way. It's been striking me that way all week. So, here's my prayer for you. And I think the only way we can avoid it is going to be through prayer. That God would bring to your mind those areas where you are rebellious against Him, where you're elevating your judgment and your desire above His. And not that He'd smack you upside the head, although that'd be good too. But just that He continued to bring it to you and He would just give you the desire in your heart to give that area over to Him. And then give you the strength to do it the next day. And the next day. And the next day. Because Christians, we're not perfect. It's not about making a decision and all of a sudden you are a bright and gleaming, shiny example to the world. That's why it's called a walk, because every single day you have to do it. Pick up your cross daily and follow me. Let's pray. Father, you are so good. The fact that it's amazing the fact you use stories that are thousands of years old. They're just as applicable, just as salient today as they ever have been. And that you love us enough that you put them in front of us and you call us out of wherever we are, if we're going east, to come back to you. And I pray that be the case, Lord. That every single one of us, those strongholds that we have, the areas where we just kind of try to slide back from you and not take the jobs you give us, or to do them the way we want to do them, or to not sacrifice things we don't want to sacrifice, whatever it might be, Lord, that we would, anywhere we put our judgment and our desires above yours, I pray you would convict us of those, Lord. And that you would continue to make us more and more the men and women that you want us to be. Lord, I pray, through the purity of our lives, through the obedience to your word and to your will, that this small group of folks here, Lord, that we would just reach millions of people for you. And that we would impact the kingdom in such a mighty, mighty way that the enemy would just not even have a clue what happened. Father, if there's anybody here that is just hasn't made a decision about whether or not to give their life over to you, I just pray that you would just inspire them to realize that everything they've ever wanted is in you. And the only way that we can get all that we need is through you. And I just thank you for that. I thank you that you love us and provide for us. And I pray your protection on every single person here and your blessing on them as well. In the precious name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.